Okay, this is the same day, but the tripod wasn't working out with how I had things set up, so it's much more comfortable doing it like this still. Hopefully, eventually, I'll be able to do that. You can see we got in the back some stuff displayed. We got my new locomotive there. One of the stuff I got from Yankee Dabbler is that Athearn blue box there. Yeah, that's a Yankee Dabbler. Then the main central KD car there, and then that's an AHM stuff I got there. Cards all along the front. Right there is the sticker for Containerman 68 that was in Sparky's package. There's another card that was in Sparky's package. Over there is the card for Barnabas Junction that I got in Sparky's package. Back here is the Otter Valley card. There's the Yankee Dabbler card that came in my package from Yankee Dabbler. There's two more behind this stuff. Another thing I got from Sparky, my prize, and then the thing that he threw in, plus his sticker up there, and my train simulator there. Cat, you stay back there. And up on top is two other things, the two alligator clips and the Canadian cow. Now, some of you might not know this, but New York, our cows go moo. Canada, I hear they go moo. Anyway, last week I spoke about the regional rail operation Florida Midland. This week I covered the 68 to 75 mile property Florida Central Railroad. I got two different mileage lengths on this, so I'm not quite sure which one it is. If it's 68 miles or 75 miles. It might be 75 miles total, but only 68 miles active because there are a couple branch lines that aren't fully in service. This railroad interchanges with CSX in Orlando, Florida, and it serves a lot of industries in Orlando, Apopka, Zellwood, Mount Dora. It doesn't actually serve anything in Mount Dora. Tavares, Eustis, Umatilla, Okoye, and Winter Garden with 8 transloads and works with 6 agencies to develop more business along their service area. All their trackage was built in the 1880s and became part of the SAL and ACL systems before becoming SCL and then CSX. The Florida Central began operating on November 21st, 1986, interchanging with CSX in Toronto, Florida until September 28th, 1990, when CSX turned over the operation of the rails between Toronto and Orlando to the Florida Central via lease. The railroad was a 10-mile-per-hour territory until improvements are made starting in 2013, which included 20 miles of welded rail, 23,100 new ties, and rebuilding 25 railroad crossings and repairing bridges, which increased track speed to 25 miles per hour. The Florida Central had been owned by Pinsley Railroad Company until November 2019, when they were sold to 3I Railroad Holdings GP LLC, which is now under the Regional Rail LLC name, and is now, not which. Florida Central only has 4 locomotives on their own trackage. These are CS7 number 50, GP9U number 7032, and GP9RMs 7033 and 7063. The CS7 is originally ATSF, while the rebuilt GP9s are all original to Canadian National. They also have a caboose, FCEN number 500, which is former CNO 3165. This appears to be used as a shoving platform. I'm shifting my weight here. Both the CS7 and GP9U are in Florida Central paint, while 7033 is still in CN paint, and 7063 is in a medium blue paint with yellow stripe. They also own the 4 locomotives that operate in the Florida Midland. Those are also in Florida Central paint, except for the SW1200, which is light blue with a white stripe. They also own 4 locomotives on the Florida Northern, which are all in Florida Central paint. There's another one on the Florida Northern, which we'll get to that later in the next episode. The Florida Central likely operates Monday through Friday, though I can't find any information on that. They interchange directly in Taft Yard with CSX, so there's no CSX train schedule to go off of, at least not that I could find. I have the list of CSX trains. I couldn't find one that they mentioned. They switched 9 industries in Orlando, 3 in Lockhart, 6 in Apopka, 3 in Winter Garden, 3 in Zellwood, and 1 each in Tavares and Eustis. Car traffic is covered hoppers, tank cars, center beams, box cars, and gondolas. The business they serve our trans business, you got fruit fly flying around. Those things disappear out of nowhere and just don't go away. Businesses they serve are transloading, industrial gas products, building supplies, propane suppliers, snack food manufacturing, beer distribution, beverage manufacturing, steel fabrication, lumber yards, scrap yards, chemicals, fertilizer, oil products, and more. Taft Yard is a small yard along and across the platforms from the Orlando station. The CFRC is then double track. That's the Central Florida Rail Corridor. Is then double track up going through the Spaghetti Bowl interchange of I-4 and Route 408 to the Central Business District of Orlando, where the Florida Central then veers off to the west under the bridges of I-4, Route I-4, 526, and 400. The first feature of the Central is a siding, which on Google Maps is a string of empty centerbeam flats sitting on it. The main then parallels West Robinson Street before curving north to parallel Hames Ave to reach the Amelia Street Terminal, which has two industries: Hennef Transportation, which is a bulk transload receiving covered hoppers, and Messer, which receives industrial gas products and tank cars. There is a spur behind three businesses. This is this location, which appears to be used for storage of off-spot cars. Another spur is used for tank cars, but also has room for 3 to 4 covered hoppers to sit off-spot. On Google Maps, there were 2 covered hoppers sitting there waiting to be spotted. 2 more tracks are used for covered hoppers near another building. It is labeled as 3 more businesses, but likely is only used for Hennef Transportation. The Central has a storage track across the main from the complex that is also used for covered hopper storage. The main then crosses at West Colonial Drive at North Orange Blossom Trail before paralleling the latter north. The Central then has a yard north of the Country Club between US 441 and Beardall Street. This yard is technically 3 tracks, but the lead for an industrial park is off the western track. The industrial park contains Margem Supply, which receives building products and centerbeam flats, but there are 7 other industrial spurs and sidings that could handle freight. These are located at abandoned buildings, but also at South Florida Water, Baker Distributing Company, Shorter Services, Harmon, Foundation Building Materials, Orlando Winelson, and Wind Supply of Orlando. But at the main track, the tracks continue almost due north, passing between residential and industrial zones before splitting, one track continuing north while a branch splits off to the west. The branch that goes to the west serves as a huge industrial park that contains the rest of the industries in Orlando and locations that are not currently served or appear to not be and are not included in the list of industries I found online. One industrial lead that leads north to Weldon Parts, Craters and Freighters Orlando, Jamer Distributors, Baystone Tile, and other buildings that are not currently online. This industrial lead appears to be used by the Florida Central as a staging area while they switch to the other industries. Google Maps shows 2 locomotives coupled to a bunch of cars, while SCEN 3063 does switching, 7063, not 3063. Does switching in another track. Farther west is another industrial lead that is a disused spur to Conklin Metal Industries and Impact Lighting and ends at 2 warehouses that also appear to be offline. One is labeled Smart Warehousing, but there are 0 cars spotted on Google Maps. Only tank cars sitting on a runaround at the beginning of the lead. But SCEN GP9RM number 7063 can be seen with 2 boxcars leaving or entering the lead. The industrial park continues west with AmeriGas being a short spur, with only room for 2 cars, both at unloading racks. The track then reaches Silver Star Diamond Railroad Crossing, which is a tourist attraction behind a parking lot for box trailers off Silver Star Road. Unfortunately, the parking lot is gated, and I cannot find a spot on Google Maps that you could reach it photos online or from the parking lot, but with a fence and a gate, I am not sure if it's a good idea to try and reach it. The diamond is a 90-degree diamond with a connector in the southeast quadrant. The track heading north simply is for reaching L&W Supply, which receives building materials and centerbeam flaps. So you're going to find L&W Supply and is a major rail, is on rail served on I think every single railroad I've done in Florida so far. South of the diamond, the tracks reach Frito-Lay, which receives food ingredients and covered hoppers and tank cars. And AmeriGas is the second location across the tracks in Frito-Lay, which can handle 3 cars but only unload 2. The tracks also reach Fulford Van and Storage, Packaging Corporation of America, and Christie Lights Orlando, which I could not find any evidence of them being served. Just west of the diamond is a spur that curves north to Coca-Cola, but it appears that it is overgrown. There are 6 covered hoppers in the beginning of the spur, but Coca-Cola is listed as a beverage manufacturer receiving tank cars. There is a disused spur at Harvest Meat, a long spur that reaches to Spec Building Materials, which is not listed as an online industry. There's no food in here. Go away. Go away. Wouldn't bother me if they quit flying on my face. Another industrial lead curves north to Florida Distributing Company, which is under the Miller Lite name. Another location for Coca-Cola Beverages Florida, which is where the tank cars are received. An abandoned spur that once served buildings now occupied by Conair Industries and Amazon Hose and Rubber Company. The lead ends at a huge warehouse that appears to be an Amazon hub. And that finishes the Orlando Industries. The main continues on to the communities further down the line. The next location of the FCEN is Lockhart, which has 3 industries. These are Dixie Plywood and Lumber, Allied Interior Products, and Banker Steel. Lockhart is not that far north of the last industrial park in Orlando, maybe a mile north of that. In Lockhart, there's a siding with Dixie being served by a curved spur that wraps behind the building. Across that is a spur that goes into ABC Supply Company, which is not mentioned in the list. Across the spur from that is Allied Precast Products, which might be the Allied Interior Products listed as an industry. The main then crosses a bridge where a spur heads off west to Foundation Building Materials, which is not mentioned in the list, but Google Maps shows a center beam spotted there. Not sure if the person who made the list didn't know about it or if it since has gone offline. Chemex Lockhart is just west of Foundation, but the spur that runs to it looks disused. There's another disused spur across the tracks that would serve Ferrogas if it was online. Banker Steel South is on a spur and does steel fabrication, receiving bulkhead flats. The rails then cross Edgewater Drive at the Lockhart Historic Mural. Missed it. Next is a disused but maintained spur at a location currently used by Green Star Auto Recyclers. Another disused spur goes to a lot that is currently DTL Transportation. Not far down the main is Apopka, where there are 3 known industries and more spurs which are not confirmed to be in use. Scrap yards, Landers Recycling, and CMC Recycling receiving gondolas are in Apopka, along with Hawkins, which is a chemical company receiving tank cars. There are also spurs at Hood Distribution and what I believe is Florida Potting Soil. Cold Link Logistics Orlando, and a bunch of other businesses. CMC Recycling is a large operation with a huge scrap loader. Nearby is Tanner Industries, which would probably receive propane if it was online. These are technically in South Apopka and Plymouth, but the railroad considers it Apopka. Here the branch to Wintergreen turns off while the main continues to Plymouth, where they are based out of. There are 3 other industries in Apopka, which are Bloom, a plastic planter and baskets manufacturer, which receives covered hoppers of plastic pellets, Goya Foods, which receives boxcars of food to distribute, and BWI Companies, which receives boxcars for its business of lawn and garden products. Those are farther up on the main from where I am currently talking about. The only confirmed industries in the branch to Wintergreen are 3 in Wintergreen. The map shows industrial trackage in Oki, but the list I found did not mention that location, and Google Maps does not show any evidence of active industries in those spurs. In Wintergreen, the FCEN serves ADS pipe and Diamond R fertilizer with covered hoppers, and 84 lumber with center beam flaps and boxcars. There are several other places that could be rail served, and it looks like they store center beam flats in Wintergreen. The main continues to Zellwood, where there are supposedly 5 industries: Newsom Oil, Plant Food Systems, Chemical Systems, and GCP Allied Technologies, which receive tank cars, and Anuvia Plant Nutrients. That's nutrients, not nutrients, which is weird. Florida. What is wrong with you? Seriously, what is wrong with you, Florida? Nutrients? Nutrients? Nutrients! Only in Ding Ding State. The main continues to Tavares, where it splits in 2. These are considered branches. There is supposedly only 1 industry in Tavares, the County Road Transload, which receives tank cars and covered hoppers. I, however, could not find it at all. There is no place where tank cars or covered hoppers were spotted, nor were there any spurs that I found. Also in Tavares, the tracks cross through the middle of a traffic circle with a Y that the south leg goes down the median of Lake Dora Drive. The only other industry I could confirm on the railroad is on the branch that goes through Eustis to just outside Amatilla, has Tool World Products, an interior finishing products business that receives covered hoppers. There are no online industries listed for the branch that goes to Sorrento. This concludes the episode on the Florida Central. Next week I will cover the final railroad in the regional rail family, the Florida Northern. This railroad seems to be a busy railroad with the amount of industries and freight cars I saw on Google Maps, with a lot of potential for being even busier. I doubt I will be able to rail fan this, since I have no plans on being anywhere near Orlando. Bye.